Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to this online session by Talent Sprint on how to build the AI and ML expertise and what are the uh, right formats in which you can learn this and what are the best options in hand. I'm glad to have Mr. Ashokan Pichai here with me, joining in this session today, who would throw insights and uh, enlighten us on what are the different options that we have today to build this AI and ML expertise, and how is this new format that we have come up with going to help participants. He is uh, the Python guru, a very well known instruction designer, and uh, you also consult with Fossey for the IIT Bombay
Yeah, still
on the Python
most
courses.
uh, all open source software, but mostly centered around Python.
Right, right. So I think it was a few months back that we had met Ashokan for a similar session, and I think every
Yep.
time we meet, we are, and I would say you are more experienced in training participants on artificial intelligence and machine learning.
I'm
So
learning as much too.
yeah, it's always mutual. So uh, so I think to start with, Ashokan, we have had what 2,000 students
Almost,
participants
almost
graduate
2000.
from this artificial intelligence machine learning program, which is
Yes,
being done with IIIT Hyderabad, right? And like you all must be aware, IIIT Hyderabad is the number one machine learning lab in the country, and this program has been highly ranked. I think it ranked number two uh, in the AI and ML program. So, what has been the experience like so far?
it's been very good. We have had the program, obviously, compared to the day when it was launched more than a year back, has been changed, mostly taking into account how people learn, what has been their inputs, what worked very well, and so on.
Right.
And it's been an experience where we have seen people doing fairly interesting projects or coming up with good takes, and most heartening is, of course, a significant percentage of people going back to their organizations and saying, now we are trying out this in our organization. And in a few cases, some people saying, no, I got shifted to a different group in the same company or a different company, now I am working on this. So that has happened quite a few times. So that has been the most I should say interesting part of it, because the
Right.
people participants come with very, very different backgrounds.
Yeah.
When we started the program, somehow I mean, I don't think this was in any way intended or anyone else. I somehow thought, the 1 year, 2 year experience people will all be hurling towards the program looking for new things to learn. But it was very good to see a significant number of the people were actually much more experienced. So
Right.
this made us reset some of our expectations and do a lot of things, a lot of different things, and do things differently. Both had to be done to keep the program very useful and effective.
Right, right. I have seen some testimonials myself, and I'm sure participants here have also gone through some of them, right? And the feedback, like, this has been a life changing course, and to see professors from IIIT Hyderabad and
Yeah, it was
such as yourself is
for me also. It
amazing,
was good.
and the
For me also, working with Anup or Jawahar or Vineet Gandhi
right,
and the industry people who also come and talk, all of them, it's a big revelation, because this is a field where uh, we are often quoting this fact. We have to have people are working on things sometimes which are just 1 year from a research stage.
right,
Professor Ramesh Longan was remarking, some company came up with a problem. We said we have been wrestling with it, we are not able to solve it, and they figured out that was because the only way to do it was a research
right,
paper which had come back less than a year back. So obviously industry hadn't yet had time to absorb it.
right,
So these sort of things are happening. So that's the most exciting part of this program. With a small number, more a larger number is more traditional. Yes, standard. Yes, we can apply this. They come very clear. This is what we want to do in our company. For example, we had one company which was in the automobile sector. They had a very clear understanding of what they wanted to do. So much so they said 20 people are going to attend from our company. I
right,
said, wow, that's interesting. And we expected all of them will form groups and work on similar projects. They said, no, 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 work with different people on projects outside our domains also. So it
Right.
was in many respects, a very interesting experience.
Right, right. So Ashokan, see, we had started this about 18 months ago, the first cohort of
January,
this,
yeah, about
January
8 months.
2018,
Oh,
so
time
almost
flies.
18 months, yeah.
Mm.
And I'm sure with, each passing day, the AI is becoming more mainstream, right? And it's kind of, everybody knows it and everybody's using it in some other fashion. So do you find any difference in the kind of participants that we had in cohort 1 versus what we had in the latest cohort, let's say, in terms of their understanding of what AI is, or it need not be the technical knowledge of it, but is there a difference in the kind of people that we get?
Yes, uh, yes and no. Yes, in the sense we have a few demographics which weren't there in the first few groups. Two specific demographics. One is we have people with 30 years experience.
Right.
Now, bunch of them,
Okay.
4 or 5 people in the last two batches,
Oh, I see.
who are very clear what they want. I worked in statistics, I worked in actuarial stuff, and I want to see how this plays out. So these people are really having a ball. Believe me, at that age, they are saying, you know what, this is why I wanted to learn this. This is interesting. I ask, do you have a specific task or a project or a organizing or a consulting work which is, no, 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 we understand some of the classical ideas, so we were curious whether to do this.
Right.
And we had some PhD students in related fields coming and doing this. So these are all older people. The other demographic which is new in the latest batches is we have a few students just out of college. Even though we are saying it is, we insisting you need experience, they come talk to us and the professor and say, we are very clear why we want to do this. This is what we want to do. So give us an exemption and join. There are much less, of course, 1 or 2 people in every batch, but this is a phenomenon which is consistently happening in the last 3. This is where the major difference comes. But the majority of the groups is in the significantly experienced 10 plus, 5 to 10 and 10 to plus
Right.
as two major chunks.
Right.
And they are all coming because in most cases they see their organization moving towards a significant amount of AI and ML content in their work, or they foresee that, or they are hearing that this will happen. Some of them are also wanting to move to maybe different organizations or even different fields in some cases to do that. So that's the
Great. Yeah.
profile wise, that's what is the demographic of the audience.
Good. Good. I think we have some participants who have also joined the chat. Welcome,
Good evening,
guys.
everybody.
Yeah. Please feel free to post your questions. I'm sure you have some questions around the program or about the format. So please keep posting those through the chat here, and I'm sure we will take it up and get you the right response. So I think before we get the first question from them, what has I know that we have been doing this with IIIT Hyderabad for the last 8-9 cohorts that we have done, right? What has led to this new format, which is the All India format?
See, from the very first batch, we had people from other cities coming. For example, the first batch had one person traveling from Chennai, Pune, sorry, not Chennai, and 2 people traveling from Delhi every week.
Wow.
So they are very clear what they want to do, why they want to do. They heard IIIT is doing this, so they had come. So every batch we had 2-3 people who are traveling real long distance, flying mostly, or overnight trains in some cases. And in Bangalore we had again 2-3 people in every cohort who were coming from Chennai or some other places. And we received inquiries from many other people, is there a way for us to attend this program? Because this program walks a very interesting line between a purely application oriented and a purely academic, and the it's a very interesting line. It builds enough foundation, at the same time it has enough hands-on stuff, and it has enough practical work. So it's a very, very good combination. So a lot of people have heard from their friends or people in different branches of the same company. Particularly, that's where most of the impetus for thinking about alternative alternative formats came from.
Right.
So they wanted to know how can we participate uh, in this program. So we wondered how to think about alternate formats, and we were inspired by the IIM Calcutta's program, which we are working, FinTech program.
Right.
and we looked at what they do, and we saw they had a couple of longish visits to the campus interspersed with online classes. So we said, you know what, that's a format to build on. And we came up with the idea of some number of
Contact classes.
some clear idea was there should be some number of contact classes, and in between them there should be online classes. But one key difference would be there will be a lot of lab work in between, and that lab work will be supported by lab mentors.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the large it is inspired by this particular program, fintech program, with changes where we felt which will make it more learner friendly and effective, and offer more effective learning given the more technical nature of the subject.
Right, right, right. So I'm sure it's going to benefit a lot of participants there, because while we had a few who were traveling long distances every weekend,
Yeah.
there must have been a lot more who could not join the program due to the same
Definitely,
constraints.
because it's
So
not traveling every weekend is both economically and physically pretty difficult to do.
yeah, yeah. And this definitely is a very executive friendly format wherein
In that sense, yes.
you can kind of get back to your regular work from Monday through Friday.
It is still intensive because you will need to work even
You will
during
need
the
to work,
week,
of course, but without
you don't have to travel every week or physically sit away every week. You could manage. The weekend becomes more easily distributable. I mean, you could attend the classes only for one weekend and do certain other things in a different way. That's the idea.
Right. I think we've got a few questions here, sir. Let me just
please,
pick up the first few ones. We have Dinesh here who says, I'm into testing, and how does ML help me in the longer run?
Actually, we had quite a few people from the testing stream coming to the course. They came with a few predominant perspectives. One of them came with this of a large projects we are going to get in the future are going to have AI/ML components in them. So I need to understand how can I, as a QA testing person, how do I work with it? Because no one understands that yet.
Right.
So he was in a very far-seeing mode. He was, in fact, if I recall right, in the second cohort.
Okay.
He said, I am a senior QA person. I see a lot of AI ML related components coming into these various projects. We need to be able to figure out how to test them. So there I would become a lot more useful if I do this course. So that was one perspective from which people did that, and I think that still holds, because this is a totally new way of doing things. And so what is the best way to test these, I'm sure is still evolving, because this is still in the professors are not as well versed in testing as the development of the algorithms and so on. In a practical fashion, how to get them tested would be a very useful knowledge, the domain understanding of testing people. If they pick up ML, that would be a useful addition to the organization whenever ML related projects come.
Right. Okay, moving on. So I think a couple of questions there on the prerequisites to be a part of this program.
Some knowledge of math is useful. Statistics and probability is definitely useful.
Right.
But more important is what is best described as the ability to mathematically abstract. It's more important that you understand that maths is the abstraction, what is the underlying entities, what are we modeling, what is the interaction, how do we describe it in formal terms. That is a lot more critical than specific theorems and techniques in math.
Right.
And you should be comfortable with the language of linear algebra. You should be able to think about vectors and matrices, because many of the machine learning algorithms use them. But you don't really need an in-depth knowledge. You don't have to prove theorems in linear algebra, but comfort with the language of linear algebra is useful. Similarly, you don't have to, it's not like you are doing in your BStat first paper, you have to solve problems by hand, but being comfortable with what mean, median, mode, standard deviation are, and what is meant by sample, what is meant by distribution, these concepts, if you are comfortable, that's about all that is expected. On the math side, that is the prerequisite, and some calculus is needed. Again, you need to be able to understand what is meant by optimization problems, where differentiation comes there. And programming in any language is good. Python would be wonderful.
Okay, all right. And I'm sure we have a 0th week designed in this program, which kind of covers
Yeah,
essentials of Python and math required for.
not math. We review math
Okay.
because, like I said, math details are not required, only conceptual background. And we do have Python classes for people more from a sense of, okay, you have programmed in some language, and in many cases people have not programmed in recent times.
Right.
See, if you're talking about people with a 10-year experience, chances are they have moved to techno managerial roles and they have not really done hands-on coding. So it's more a question of, okay, this is the programming concepts, this is how Python does it, and move it into, that's the most of the week, the earlier module 0 as we used to call it.
Okay. Right.
So that name is probably a bit of an awkward name, but it has stuck. So the module 0 talks about what is a Python prerequisite, what is meant by machine learning, what are the classical tools, in a sort of icebreaker to the entire course. And that now in the new format happens before the first contact. That's
Right.
the
Right.
transition. Yeah, there is a question
Yeah.
on, just scroll back a little please. New to AI and ML, good experience in Python. Good books. Probably the best book is there is an author Haldaume with an accent in between, Haldaume, course in machine learning. That would be a good book to look through. It's a fantastic book, in fact, to look through, because many books are written with a very strong mathematical flavor, organizing the subject for exposition than learning. This book breaks that.
Okay. Okay. Moving on, I think we have Abhi.
There is one more question about that.
Rajan again has asked about the
How much programming? Comfort with programming concepts and the ability to pick up the languages, new language and tools is more important. You are not likely to write 100 lines of code. You are not required also. You will probably be writing 3 or 4 lines of code to carry a team, because all the libraries are available in which have great amount of power. It's a question of picking up the right library. What you need is more the software developers mindset of how do I do incrementally add a feature, try testing it in small doses. That is a lot more important than specific language depth.
Okay. We have Abhi who says, I have 5 years of experience in web and mobile application development. I would like to know if there's a career path that combines the knowledge of AI and ML. So I think this is one question that I think many participants would have.
It comes in many forms, and it's the simplest way to answer it is, we definitely are not going to look at pure AI ML projects anywhere outside the lab.
Right.
We are fond of saying Amazon is successful not because of its AI component alone. It has a fabulous logistics innovations, and it has a fantastic purchase department which ensures vendors give it to it at a very low price.
Right.
So many things go into making Amazon a success. So the ML, where the recommendation engine and the inventory management system which knows which item is where, what is the best way to route it and all that, those are small, very important of course, but small components of a much larger whole. And that is probably representative of the type of applications AI and ML will see. There would be a lot of regular stuff, and in between AI and ML pieces sitting in. So any area of development you are good in, there is going to be many applications which are going to require that expertise plus one AI component. For example, one of our people are trying to write a, in fact, one of the most, I can probably start with a more interesting example of, there is a leaf disease for the most important food crop in Africa and parts of Asia. It's cassava. It's a root. I think it's, I don't know what they call it. I know the Tamil name, I don't know the local name. So that tree's leaf gets some diseases,
Right.
1 or 2 diseases. If it is detected early, it can be controlled. So some people have done a very simple application where you go take a mobile phone, take a picture, it detects and says it has either disease A or B or not. So that sort of obviously requires understanding of mobile web application development, and also the actual implementation of it in the device level. So yes, there is, every software engineering skill you have is going to find use in the actual applications you deploy. What topics? Yeah, we've discussed that. Some aspects of, yes, some deployment aspects are covered, but deployment is again mostly organization dependent. What type of rest of the applications? AML applications don't have a separate deployment issue. They are part of a much larger, what the overall applications deployment considerations are. Okay.
We have Shabir who says, yeah.
Yeah.
So
if your job is just selecting the best algorithms, yes, there are enough, I don't call them cheat sheets. Yeah, I understand the usage, but yeah, quick reference cards are available and they do a reasonably good job of giving you a first, okay, the first approximation, for want of a better term, to get cracking. Yes, now the best place for you to probably read this is, there is a scikit-learn library. So the scikit-learn library's documentation site gives a good mix of both the explanation of their implementations as well as some background to all the algorithms. So if you are looking at making yourself familiar with the various algorithms and what they are useful for, consulting the scikit-learn, science kit, that way, SCIKIT, scikit-learn's documentation website would be a good place for that. Right.
Nitin Purohit says, I'm a SAP consultant, no technical background. So is this course useful for me?
Depends on what you want to do with it. And do you see, like I said, there are going to be many organizations where SAP is going to be part of the backplane, and are there going to be pieces of AML functionality which is working along with it, and how essential it is to understand those for that organization. I think it will be, but specifically which organization, what type of work is difficult to predict at this point of time. But every organization, let me repeat, is going to have, all tasks have a small percentage, small or large, varying percentage of AI and ML components. So it is not that there will be pure AI work being done by an organization. Every organization is going to look at their existing work and say, okay, this part of my work is better dealt with using AI/ML techniques. For example, there is a middleware company which is into providing middleware support for larger organizations, and they have a history of failures of their middleware at various conditions. Or this, it could be due to hardware, traffic, so many things they have analyzed over the years. They have collected the data. Now they are moving into analyzing this using machine learning, as opposed to it being implicit knowledge in the engineer's head. So they can better predict what the cause for this current failure or the specific incident could be, and also potentially predict when such a failure could occur. They are exploring those sort of things. So it's not pure AI/ML. It remains firmly in their domain. The data was available all along, and it was being analyzed in a sense by the engineers using their expertise. Now AI and ML provide a better tool chain to analyze the same data. Every field it is going to be the same. So where SAP's functional consulting or functional knowledge is important for the organization, and there you see a AI playing a role, you would be very useful.
Right. So basically it's about finding out where you can apply it. I mean, there is always a...
You are going to apply it.
Yeah.
Whether there is a business use case for it in the current context today. See, this company I was talking about did not go around looking for where I can apply it. They were having a problem which you are solving in a certain way. Yeah. And now people are always demanding, can you reduce the downtime, or can you help me resolve these issues faster? That's what the customers who are deploying their middleware are asking.
Right.
So they need to respond to that. And so every year SLAs get tighter.
Yeah.
So and every year engineers get older, so their implicit knowledge is likely to walk away with their retire, or they want to grow to bigger jobs, so they don't want to be doing this work anymore. So is there a way to capture that knowledge? It becomes somebody comes up with that idea. So in that sense, everywhere it can be applied, but is there a viable business case for that? That will change from organization to organization. In a sense, it's like computerization in the 60s, 70s. Of course, you could use a computer anywhere,
right?
Any organization, and many do today. But in the early stages, the decision was not based on whether it can be done. Of course, it can be done. But will there be a return on investment for both the cost of hardware, cost of changing the way business is done, cost of the personnel? So that is identical to the AML scenario. Right. Of course, AML can be used in almost anywhere. What would be the impact in terms of improved productivity or whatever else are your metrics? What would be the cost? That is what business case every organization, every function has to make for itself.
Yeah. Ashokan, before we take up the next question, now while the All India format that we have designed definitely enables a lot more participants who would like to be a part of this program, I'm sure there will also be this question in their mind, or would have crossed the mind, that being a part of a regular brick and mortar program, I mean, how would this match the efficiency of a regular brick and mortar program? So I'm sure during the design of this whole new format, a lot of brainstorming must have happened, and it has been designed accordingly. So how do you think it is going to be helpful?
So if you look at the current program, we do about 14 weeks.
Right.
So out of which, if you leave the module 0 and all that, let's say 13 weeks of, so 13 Sundays and 13 Saturdays and Sundays, and so we have certain number of times people are physically present in the lab. Yeah. So technically speaking, they are not present all the time. Obviously, they they don't come for some 20% of the classes because they have other work. So they only consult the two and a half days, because there would be some winding up work. So these days we expect to will go much longer. I mean, it is not 9 to 5, it's not going to be 9 to 5. Right. People are going to work on, and this is where they put together every idea they have learned. There would be the most important parts where bringing together multiple things, those sort of topics and lectures are planned. Some amount of resequencing has been done, and some topics have been moved around, and we have looked at alternate ways of doing the online classes for those topics. Additional preview videos have been organized for, so that this effectiveness can be done. It will be as effective as the complete brick and mortar classes, in our opinion, because even now we find a significant number of people watch the preview videos and then watch the archives of the class when they are missing it, and that's a significant percentage. And we have now enabled people to not come to the lab to do the exercises. They can do it from home, because connectivity is good enough that even when you are working in a team, you could coordinate. After all, people are doing that for their day jobs, so why not for the ML classes? So we find nearly 50% of the people are doing that on any given weekend. Not the same 50%, but different people depending on that. So in fact, that is what made us feel comfortable. Yeah, this format, well, not just theoretically good from an instruction design perspective, will actually work, because we are seeing this happen here.
Right.
So effectiveness wise, it is, in my best estimate, will be at least as good. Of course, it would require the investment of same amount of time every week. I mean, you can't pile on the study. I mean, you have to do steady 5 to 10 hours of work depending on your background, the topic of the week and so on. 5 to 10 hours of work every week on a steady cadence in order to get the maximum out of it. That won't change whether you're doing the All India format or the brick and mortar format.
Just like reading a newspaper, I mean, you have to, if you have to read it, you have to read it every day. Yeah.
You can't pile it up and catch up on it. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sure this highly intensive, I mean, highly interactive online classes that we will have sandwiched between these campus visits. In fact, there are 3 campus
not
visits.
Not just online lectures, you also have lab experiments where mentors are going to be there, and these experiments, recently we have come up with the same experiment being available at slightly different perspectives. So I am a programmer, I would like to know how to implement it, not just use it. I am a senior manager, I am more interested in seeing this algorithm in action than doing it. So we are providing each experiment in 2-3 perspectives, and we ask people to try different perspectives. So what we are finding is many people try 1, try 2, sometimes rarely 3, but most of the people gravitate to, from these, between these 2-3 alternatives, one is their better and better, one more they try around most of the time. So this is another thing we feel will ensure that the All India format is effective.
Okay. Samarjit has a
What
very
are the benefits
generic
of
question.
AI?
So, what are the benefits of AI,
It's a probably that is a lecture in itself.
and how
Lit-
far are countries advancing in AI as compared to other advanced countries?
uh, if you are looking at applications which you see on a day to day, like any other technology, how far advanced is the technology we use? Transportation is all over the place. You have
Right.
metros to bullock carts still.
Right.
So in that sense, yes, AI is also deployed the same way. Uh, all the websites which use recommendation engines or additional customer behavior analysis internally are still using, you can't even call them the Indian in that sense, our countries. So these websites are transnational.
Right.
But yeah, it's about the same as any other advanced country, I would think. And compared to the many countries, research level contribution is as good as, of course, no one else is as good as US because they have the sheer lead and volume of work there is very high. But if you look at the second level, we probably are pretty good. And IIIT in particular is one of the largest AIML
Yeah.
work departments in the country.
Right. And if I have to add to it, I think the fact that uh, the government is taking so many measures to you know get this as a part of, let's say, CBSE curriculum, or
Yeah.
have a ministry which can, not a ministry but a department which can, you know
See, yeah,
advance or develop this further,
like I
shows that we are keen to.
we are keen to do it. Like
Yeah.
I keep saying, this is like computers of the 70s.
Right.
AML is going to be part of everything we do. At that time, there was a lot of debate. Should computers be used in India? Where can they be used? How can they be used? Will they remove jobs? Now there is an exact replace the AML by computers. You had the same question, same type of debates, same type of things in the 70s.
Right.
So nothing has changed in my view. Yes, the ecosystem has changed, our understanding has changed, but the problems are about the same, the challenges are about the same, and the advantages are about the same. So, like sometime at that time CBSE had programming in, now it has AML
AML.
in. So
Yeah.
nothing has changed in
Right.
that sense,
Right.
and we are moving the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. Muzahid Hassan says, please provide the flow of becoming the AML
Okay,
expert.
depends on what you want to do and what your background is, Mr. Hassan. This is if you want to, I'll assume you are a person around a 5 year experienced and you want to see what you can do, then this sort of a course you can do. Or if you are a good self learner, you could always pick up a book, see it, and then if you see an application in your area, in the area you're working, you could try it out and so on. And See how it plays out. See, the content is available compared to any other time. The content, amount of content available in the internet for all the topics is very high. We have some of the world's greatest experts, classes, and YouTube videos available. So, if you can spend the time on your own doing using the discipline, you definitely could do it. Rohan Chakravarti, can you please repeat? So Rajan, the book's name is uh, Course in Machine Learning. The website is probably easier to remember, caml.info. CI,
CAML.info.
Course
CIM.
in Machine Learning, CIML.info. And the book is free to download, by the way.
All right, moving on. Rohan Chakraborty, I'm a first year student in computer science engineering. How can I start learning ML?
Depends on what your college, if it has a course, you could do that. You could go into the, see, for example, I'm teaching a bunch of women students in the Google V program, so that they sponsored V program. There is a bunch of students who have said they have ML papers in the beta course itself. So if you have such a course, that's a good point to start. Or if not, you could start with any of the good classic textbooks. I would recommend Norvik's book, Stuart Russell and Peter Norvik's book on artificial intelligence. It doesn't contain the latest developments in deep learning and so on, but it's probably the most complete description of the pre 2010 AI and ML, and it's a little mathematical. All books are going to be mathematical, and you are better off in the early stages since you are studying to try to do it in a little more formal way.
Right. So Ashokan, I think can we uh, throw some light on the kind of coverage that we have in this program?
Uh, the Okay, the coverage itself is one of the instructional design issues that we went through quite a few times. Ultimately, we decided we cannot do a topic wise coverage, neither in the classroom or in all that, because that's what books do. They pick up a single topic, regression, and finish it off completely mathematical treatments and so on. But from a usage perspective, that's not what is very useful. You want to look at probably deal with a class of algorithms together, see how they interplay and how you apply, and you want to then add a additional layer of sophistication. For example, the course in the early stages says assume that the data is coming to you in a pre-cooked format. How do the algorithms work? Then we later revisit, okay, how do I get the data in the format I need? Because both are different topics, and the if you look at it that way, the first part of the course focuses on problem formulation. Given a area you're working on, how do you formulate a problem? How do you represent the information you have for that domain? Problem formulation and solving is the first module. Second module talks about, okay, what are the algorithms available in general for the solutions of these sort of problems, takes a deeper look at those algorithms. And the final module talks about, specifically goes in depth about deep learning. Deep learning being the very reason why AI and ML are in hot news from post 2012. We talk about deep learning from the beginning, but the third module literally focuses on it completely, and more from a practical deployment issues. Those are covered in the third module. That's a broad structure of the program.
Right. And having done these many cohorts now, what are the kind of projects that participants take up?
We don't have a fixed what do you call, we don't have the classical some project which they bring and do type of thing, because they neither have the time nor is it that easy. So we have let me explain the type of things that I have done. Probably it's easier to talk with a specific example. One of the things the group did was to build an application where the face has to be recognized. It's a mobile application. So your mobile is locked, you look into it and the mobile opens. The problem with this application is someone could slap your passport photograph on it and it will open. So we added a wrinkle, said now not just that, the app should ask you to smile or make a sad face. So that should randomly vary, and you have to make that expression. So it has to recognize your face as well as the expression and then only unlock. This is one of the final projects people do. They do different projects at intermediate stages. In one of the intermediate stages, what we do is what we have text short stories, if you will, from 4 or 5 different authors. You have sufficient corpus of short stories from say 3 authors. So you train your algorithm to recognize the style of these authors, so that given a piece of text, the program you have built identifies which of the 3 wrote that. Wow, that's actually sounds more impressive. It's one of the bread and butter tasks, you could say. It's not 100%. I mean, it's a very serious research topic if you go into it in that sense. But it's a very interesting mid-sized problem to tackle with certain limitations. So that's the type of work people do.
Very interesting. I think question from Veeran, how will the evaluation be done for these
we have a bunch of things being evaluated. There are online tests, for want of a better term, which happen every week. Then in class we have some quick quizzes and tests. Then all the experiments are evaluated, and the projects, the case studies which they do for a full day, the type of system I was talking about, the author identification systems, they work on it, that is evaluated. So a mix of written, multiple choice, written answers, experiments, as well as larger project work, a combination of all this is evaluated.
And is attendance a part of the criteria?
Minimum attendance is expected, 75%, but of course in the All India format we would expect you come to the 3 weeks weekends, and the other online classes attend a certain minimum number. And uh, submit a certain minimum number of experiments.
Okay. Yeah. Naveen says, I have 6 years of experience as a data analyst. So what are the prerequisites to learn ML?
Some programming knowledge, I mean, programming knowledge in any programming language is good. More important is the software engineering discipline of how do I experiment by building a system and slowly testing out how it is playing out and things like that. Some maths, probability and statistics, we already discussed this, but nevertheless, probability and statistics and calculus is useful, but more from a conceptual background than any need to remember theorems or formulas. That's not the idea when we say math. For example, comfort with the language of maths is probably a lot better way of saying it. The ability to look at uh, a linear algebra situation and say this is a matrix multiplication. So the ability to recast a problem in terms of vectors, those are what are more important than any specific formulas or theorems.
Right. I think that is all from the questions from the participants, and I think we can close it here. Yeah. So overall, I would say we have had enough experience in the regular brick and mortar programs to have come to this,
and online too,
and online
not
too,
in this,
in
but
this,
other
in
ways
this particular
online.
program, yeah, but yeah, online too, and the kind of hybrid platform that we have definitely enables a very, very effective experience for the participants. So I think it's a great opportunity for those who have distance as a concern, right? You don't have to travel every weekend to the IIIT Hyderabad or to the campus here, but then the best option is to go hybrid in this executive friendly format, which brings in the expertise of the #1 machine learning lab in the country, which is from IIIT Hyderabad to you. So I think August is the start of this all India format cohort that we have, and it starts with the first visit to IIIT Hyderabad for 3 days, followed by one somewhere during the middle, and after a month,
after about 5 weeks, if I
5
remember
to
right,
6
5 or
weeks,
6 weeks.
I think one towards the end, which would be the conclusion of the
Why
program.
we are saying 5 to 6 weeks, you know, typical, some holidays will intervene and all that. So
Right.
the plan is for about 6 weeks cadence in the beginning.
Yeah. So I think a wonderful opportunity for all those who are trying to have a balance between their work life and not trying to travel too much over the weekends,
or pack it into a 3-month period.
Yeah.
Because it takes a little longer, this a little slower pace.
So for any queries that you guys may have, we have our team who you can reach out to. Their contact numbers are also available on the website. I'm sure they are here on the chat to leave their numbers. Please feel free to reach out to them and explore this wonderful opportunity that you have to learn from the best machine learning lab in the country. Any concluding comments from you, Shukran?
Would love to see you in the classes or either of the batches, either Hyderabad or the All India format batches.
Right.
This is really an exciting time, and the field is really exciting. Hope you will all benefit from it, and thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you guys. Thank you for joining us today. See you.